Hey, what's happening, guys? It's November 10th, 2010. I'm doing an oil change on a 1990 Chevrolet Suburban. It's got a 5.7 V8 in it, pretty much the standard one. Motor rebuilt less than 10,000 miles ago. After I saw some videos on YouTube and reading some articles online, decided to check and put FRAM to the test. This is a FRAM Tough Guard TG5. Just pulled it off the Suburban. It's been on there about 5.5 months, running fully synthetic oil. And a little bit shocked at what comes out when you actually pour the filter over. Let me get this a little bit better light here. You can see how milky that, not so much milky, but how thick that is for oil. That's a 1030 synthetic, only about 5 months used. If I had to guess, my odometer does not work right now, so if I had to guess, I would assume somewhere between the 5 to 7,000 mark on the miles, and that's probably giving it credit. This is mostly to and from work truck. Now the thing that disturbs me about that is, yes, it did come out of the filter, which people will say, well, duh, that's got all the sludge and shit that it's cleaning out. Well, the problem is, if you look at this filter, it has an anti-drain back seal inside. That's the orange part you're seeing in the holes, which means for that dirt to come out of it, it had to go into the side where it pulls it back through and puts it into my motor. So I'm going to cut this open in just a bit and see exactly what the FRAM's made of. But as far as I can tell, when I can pour dirty oil back out of it, there's a problem. Granted, it's still going to be black, but it shouldn't be like that. That's pretty nasty stuff. So I'll finish up and we'll get this baby cut open, see what it's exactly made out of. Okay, so after a little bit of difficulty, all I had was a hacksaw. We got around the edges. Didn't damage the filter any removing it, but we've got the FRAM. Again, this is a Tough Guard TG5 off of a 90 Suburban. So, first thing we can take a look at is the ring up top, the seal ring, the O-ring for it. Not too bad. Kind of springy. That's what you look for in rubber, for it to spring back at you. Keep in mind this has been already used, so not the best use left in it, but that would definitely work. I could probably put that back on my truck if I needed it. Wouldn't recommend it, but I could probably do it. So we will go ahead and lift the cap. Pretty durable feel to it. Good steel. It doesn't look like any seams were missed on the forming of the parts. Pretty durable and heavy. We'll set that to the side. So the first thing we'll notice is we have the orange anti-drain back valve. This is mostly made for cars where the filter is going to sit sideways. On cars where, like my truck, where this filter stands straight up and down, it doesn't really matter. What this does, though, is how your filter works is the oil comes into the filter through these little tiny valve holes on the side, and it gets pulled back out through the big main valve in the center. This, when you see it, looks like this. You can see the orange covering the holes. What that does is once you park your vehicle and the oil pressure stopped, this piece of rubber stops the oil from draining back into the motor and recontaminating the clean stuff, so it doesn't pump dirty oil back through. This is supposed to hold it. Pretty flimsy piece of rubber, but at the same time it is rather springy, just like the O-ring was. Excuse the sound, my mail truck is going by at this moment. Just overall kind of springy. I'm not sure if it's silicone or rubber. Honestly, it feels like silicone. I'd have to double check that for you, not 100% sure. We'll set that off to the side. That would probably work when it's cold. I wouldn't trust it too much when it's hot because, again, you can see how flimsy it is when it's cold. This is nice and cold. This is just average temperature. So when this is hot, it's going to be more pliable. So if this was sitting sideways in my car and there was hot oil against it, I would expect the oil to leak right past. That brings us to the number one issue FRAMs have. The only FRAM that does not have this issue is going to be the extended guard. And for the price of that, you can get a lot better filters at a lower price. That issue is going to be right here, as you can see. That is a cardboard end cap. We will pull the filter out of the housing. That is a cardboard end cap, and you can see it's already taken damage. Some of this is done by my fingers just now when I pulled it out. Some of that was probably done by the saw a little bit. But look how flimsy that is. What happens when you get cardboard or paper wet, especially with oil? It's complete garbage. It goes right through. I could probably just hit this with my fingernail and pop a hole right through it. So how the hell is that holding the pressure and keeping my motor protected? The bottom is the exact same way. A little bit dirtier because it was sitting down in there in the filter. Exact same crap. Cardboard. You can see it right there. It bends rather easily. The top has octagonal shape. The bottom's just round. Not sure why they did that, but not supposed to, I guess. The number one issue I hear of is the metal or steel. I'm not sure what kind. I'm pretty sure it's steel. I'm not 100% sure though. Seam for the filter. Most people have issues with this, and they'll show it on their videos. Mine looks relatively solid. Doesn't look like I had any major issues. Now I haven't had the chance to really go through there and check it, but I would rate this as overall pretty well sealed. So the oil was going through the filter element at least. There was no holes that I found that were messing with that, other than just these cheap cardboard end caps letting the oil flow right through anyway. That leaves us to the last part, which stayed in the framing. The little retaining spring for the bottom. This sits just like this. Fits right in the hole. What this does is lift the filter element off of the bottom of the inside of the housing. That puts pressure on the anti-drain back to keep pressure there and prevent the oil from flowing back into the motor. Again, cheap component. This, in its cold state, seems relatively sturdy. I mean, it's not the thickest piece of metal, and I've definitely seen better constructed from other videos. But not the worst. You know, it definitely could have been worse. There could have been a hole in the middle. I was kind of surprised I didn't find one of those. Now, the other problem we have, the thing to consider with this piece of metal, the whole time, is putting stress on this whole filter element. So it's sitting on this hole, and it's just pushing. So what happens is my motor heats up, the hot oil starts going through the filter, it gets down, you know, heats this whole element up. The pressure of this pushes on the cardboard. That makes the hole bigger. Everything cools down, this will pop back out and fall to the bottom due to, you know, just natural gravity. So then everything starts again. So what happens eventually? That hole's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So until it's to the point that it's to the steel coating on the inside, and we'll try to show you that, until it gets to the point where it's not really pressing against the cardboard anymore for a short period of time with every start. Keep in mind that's when most wear and tear happens on a motor, is during startup, the most strenuous for a motor. I've got dirty oil flowing right on through the center up into my motor. That's going up into my crankshaft, up to the rockers. The whole engine is being lubricated by dirty oil. So I can honestly say I've been doing oil changes for about 5-6 years. I'm 23 now, so say about 5-6 years. FRAM every time. I've stood by their brand. Too stupid and naive to open one up, see what I'm working with. I will honestly say that I will not buy these again. Again, to keep in mind, this is the Tough Guard. This isn't the cheapest one. This is the mid-grade. Actually, this is kind of on the higher end. You've got your you have your orange box. I'm not sure what they call the orange box, but you have your FRAM. It's the Extra Guard. That's what it is. So you have your FRAM Extra Guard. Then up from there, you have your high mileage. Then you have your Tough Guard. The Tough Guard is designed for truck application or heavy duty. Towing, hauling, anything big like that, you're going to want to use the Tough Guard. At least FRAM wants you to use the Tough Guard. The only one better than this is the Extended Guard. which is, from what I've seen and been told, is the only one that uses steel end caps on their filter. That filter runs about $9 to $10 where I'm at, and I'm in a cheaper part of the country for oil products. I'm down in Texas. So I figure for that same $9 to $10, I bought this time a Wix filter. Got to see the teardown of it. For the same quality, I bought a $6 filter for what the extra guard would have done, or the extended guard would have done. So I can honestly say, last filter I'll be using from FRAM.